Hello YouTubers, this is SHEM. After 2 weeks of intensive testing, here is my detailed review of one of the most anticipated phones of 2014, dubbed the flagship killer. OnePlus is a new company from China with strong associations with Oppo, which is yet another Chinese manufacturer whose high quality smartphones have been present on various markets for quite some time. OnePlus set a goal to lower the marketing and distribution costs to the minimum so that it can offer a top spec smartphone for a fraction of the price. As a result, we have the OnePlus One, company's first smartphone that costs only $350 for the 64GB version. Its high-end technical specification made it the object of desire of millions of fans around the world who have been looking for a way to get an invite to buy the device since the day it was first announced. And yes, you've heard me correctly, an invite is required to purchase the device. I've received mine after 3 months of patient waiting on the forums. The phone is available through the official online shop in 16 countries, and there are 2 different versions available, the Chinese and global in 16 and 64GB storage variants. The Chinese one lacks the cyanogen logo on the back, works with less frequency bands, and comes with different software. The phone comes packaged in a special card box. To open it, you'll need to pull a tab with OnePlus on the side. Inside you'll find a white and red box with OnePlus logo that contains the phone. On the back you can find information about the color, capacity and version of the device. Mine is the 64GB global in sandstone black. To get to the inside of the box you need to pull a tab on the side and slide out the inside shelf. Now just flip the cover and you can see your brand new smartphone for the first time. I'm gonna put the phone aside for a minute to show you the remaining contents of the box. Once you remove a card divider, you'll find a red, non-coiling USB cable for data exchange and charging. It has a standard micro USB plug on one end and a slim USB on the other. In the box you'll also find a SIM ejector tool that you can attach to your keys to always have it when you need it. Because I bought the phone in Germany, I also received a wall charger with standard European plug. There is no headset included with the device. So now let's move on to the build and design of OnePlus One. There is a protective film covering the front panel, which I'm gonna take off. On the top lies a speakerphone with sensors, 5-megapixel camera capable of capturing 720p video, and a multicolored LED light on the left hand side. Below we have the 5.5-inch LTPS LCD display, entirely covered by tempered Corning Gorilla Glass 3. Below the screen lie 3 capacitive buttons. Surrounding the slightly elevated glass is chrome-plated plastic frame that runs around the whole front. On the left side of the phone you'll find a hidden tray that can be opened by the SIM ejector tool from OnePlus and the volume rocker. On the bottom, located centrally, is the USB charging port, a microphone and 2 JBL speakers. The right side is where you'll find the power button, and on the top lies the headphone jack on the left and yet another microphone with noise reduction. On the back of the phone you can find a 13-megapixel camera module with dual LED flash and 4K recording capability and the third microphone on the right side. Below lies the OnePlus and Cyanogen logo. The back is made of a very nice to the touch plastic with coarse surface. The back cover is replaceable and the manufacturer just introduced the bamboo variant. In the future, backdoors from materials such as Kevlar, jeans and others will also be available. To remove the back cover you need to first remove the SIM tray and then gently pry around the edge until it becomes loose. You will need a little bit of patience for this task. Under the cover you will find a red non-replaceable battery. The device is quite big and measures 152.9mm in length, 75.9mm in width and 8.9mm in thickness. The weight is 162 grams. This is definitely not a smartphone that you'll be able to use comfortably with one hand, and even I had problems with my large hands. Overall, the feel of the phone is great, and the build quality is as good as on flagships from other manufacturers. One thing that I noticed is that the gap between the chrome-plated frame and the display will collect dust and dirt with time. Moving on to the spec sheet, the device is equipped with the quad-core Qualcomm Snapdragon 801 clocked at 2.5 GHz, Adreno 330 graphics chip and 3GB of RAM. There is also a built-in Bluetooth 4.0, NFC, LTE and GPS. I've tested the signal strength in a lecture room where Sony Xperia Z1 usually didn't give me any connection, and Samsung Galaxy S5 constantly shifted between LTE and 3G, and OnePlus One maintained a constant LTE connection. I had no problems with Wi-Fi signal either, and on a cloudy day outside with AirPlay mode switched on, the device hooked onto 7 satellites within a few seconds. The device is available in 16 and 64GB versions, and the memory is not expandable by the SD card slot. The phone works under a special build of Android 4.4.2 CyanogenMod 11S developed with OnePlus One in mind. This is the second smartphone on the market with official Cyanogen team support, the first being the Oppo N1. Unfortunately, in the case of Oppo, the cooperation didn't bear fruit, and after just a few months since its release, the phone is stuck on Android 4.2.2. OnePlus One is promised a 2-year support from Cyanogen, and so far it's been receiving regular updates. Slightly worrying is the fact that it still runs on Android 4.2 when the 4.4.4 version has been out for quite some time. I'll talk more about system features later. In benchmarks, OnePlus One destroys the competition. In the most popular Antutu benchmark, it scored 38,341, which puts it at the top of the ranking. It's good to remember that benchmarks are not always a good indicator of real-life performance. Nevertheless, when testing the phone in demanding games such as Modern Combat 5 or Need for Speed Most Wanted, it ran them without any problems. During gameplay, the temperature on the right side of the camera module on the back did rise quite significantly, but this is absolutely normal for chips without any cooling. The 5.5-inch Gorilla Glass 3 protected display on OnePlus One has a resolution of 1080 by 1920, which gives it a pixel density of 401 pixels per inch. There is an LTPS IPS panel characterized by very good viewing angles and contrast. Unfortunately, the display is plagued by 2 problems. The first of them is easy to fix and is a slightly warmer calibration. This can be adjusted by apps such as Screen Adjuster from the Play Store. The second issue is a lot more serious. It is not present on all OnePlus One units, but I found it on mine. It usually shows after a few hours since first boot and is a yellow band on the bottom of the display due to a mistake in production where the glue was not allowed to settle properly. Supposedly, it can be fixed by exposing the display to UV light by, for example, leaving it in the sunlight. I haven't had a chance to test that fix, but the yellow band has become quite irritating. It isn't very noticeable until you know that it is there. Besides the aforementioned problems, the display is bright and has vivid colors. Thanks to the capacitive buttons below the screen, you get to use all of its glory, and it's just perfect for movies and playing games. There are 2 speakers from JBL located on the bottom in OnePlus One. They're not stereo, but that shouldn't really make a difference as they are located very close to each other. The sound is very impressive and is one of the best that I've tested. For sure, it's not as good as HTC's Boom Sound speaker on the One M8, but it definitely beats the rest of the competition. The placement on the bottom is by no means perfect and causes muffling whilst holding the device in horizontal position. It's a shame that they are not front-facing. When it comes to the interface and pre-installed apps, you can find a video that will walk you through all CyanogenMod 11S features which can be found in OnePlus One on my channel, so I will just mention a few here. The system looks a lot like stock Android known from the Nexus series of devices, but it offers a lot more personalization options and you can adjust the look and function of pretty much every element of the interface. When it comes to the pre-installed apps, one which I'm gonna mention is called AudioFX. First, choose either the speaker, headset or Bluetooth from the list, and then select from the multiple equalizer presets and reverbs to adjust the music to your liking. OnePlus One supports gestures such as double tap to wake or double tap on status bar to sleep. There are also a few lock screen gestures such as draw a circle to launch camera or draw letter V to launch torch. Unfortunately, when I had all of them switched on, my phone would spontaneously unlock itself and turn on various functions in my pocket. OnePlus announced that they are currently working on a fix. Another very interesting feature in the smartphone is the possibility to adjust the notification light LED. You can assign a certain color and duration for any app. Overall, in terms of functionality, CyanogenMod 11S is a pleasure to use. Unfortunately, it lacks in terms of stability. The phone froze on black screen once, and I couldn't use it for a few minutes. Other time, some icons in quick settings panel disappeared. Applications also force close more often than on other devices with Android. OnePlus One has a built-in 3100 mAh lithium polymer battery. During intensive use with screen on full brightness and mobile network switched on at all times, I managed to get over 3 hours and 30 minutes of screen on time with almost 8 hours overall use. When I only used Wi-Fi, I got 4.5 hours of screen on time and 12.5 hours overall. Those are very decent results, and they could of course be extended further by reducing the screen brightness or switching off mobile data. Now let's talk about the camera. OnePlus One has a 13 megapixel Sony Exmor IMX214 module with dual LED flash, autofocus and a 6-piece lens on the back and a 5 megapixel camera in the front. In CyanogenMod 11S on OnePlus One you'll find a redesigned camera app with interesting interface. In horizontal position you'll find camera, video and panorama selection on the right, and quick settings such as front-back camera toggle, flash and various other settings such as exposure, white balance, scene selection or geo-tagging on the bottom. In scene selection, you can choose which ones you want to be available when swiping down from the top of the screen. There is also a settings icon on the bottom. Here you can adjust the size and quality of photographs, choose burst mode or slow shutter mode, or adjust more advanced settings such as touch focus duration, the ISO or automatic exposure. Next we have the video settings. OnePlus One is capable of capturing video in 4K. The length of such clips is limited to 4.5 minutes. Additionally, it records 1080 60 frames per second and 720p 120 frames per second in slow motion and has a time-lapse video mode. In general settings you can set the power button as shutter, volume buttons for zoom and also adjust controls for left-handed use. Let's take a look at some samples. I've tested the camera on a trip to Berlin and in various locations around the city of Poznan in Poland. The quality of photographs is very impressive. In automatic mode the phone was able to adjust all parameters well to the lighting conditions. Macro shots taken with OnePlus One contained a lot of detail and overall looked good, but there were times when I had an element in focus on the screen, but it was out of focus when reviewing. At night the phone performed well and I took a series of impressive photographs. The built-in long exposure mode of up to 8 seconds was extremely useful when aided with the help of a tripod, and I captured astonishing photographs. The quality of video captured with OnePlus One is also very good. The slow motion setting lets you record 720p video with 120 frames per second. I tested this functionality with a classic Mentos and a bottle of Coke experiment. Time-lapse recording is yet another very interesting feature. I placed the phone on a tripod and set it to record a nearby parking lot at 1 frame every 3 seconds in 4K resolution. Finally, there is the 5 megapixel front-facing camera. It is able to capture better selfies than most of the competition with their poor 2 megapixel modules. But in low lighting conditions, photographs looked average at best. The final question is whether OnePlus One is the phone for you and if it truly is the flagship killer. Its main strengths are the low price, brilliant technical specs, good battery life, nice design and build quality, a 16.4GB internal memory option, and good front and back cameras with a ton of functions. OnePlus One's weaknesses include the yellow bending on the bottom of the screen problem, software issues, and of course poor availability and a somewhat ridiculous invite system. Can OnePlus One compete with other flagships? By all means, yes. Is it a flagship killer? I wouldn't push it that far. A lot of new devices offer additional features such as waterproofing or the IR sensor. Additionally, when you pay for a device from a renowned brand, you also pay for good customer care and a warranty service, which in the case of OnePlus One has been under quite some scrutiny. When it comes to the price, OnePlus One may be an attractive device at the moment, but because it is so niche, its price won't drop as quickly as that of the competition, and soon you'll be able to find better devices for the same money. I hope that you've enjoyed my review. If you did, don't forget to hit the like button under the video and subscribe to my channel for more content coming soon. Also, make sure that you check out some of my other videos.